All right, welcome. We got the first few attendees coming in. All right, I see some familiar names. Yeah, let us know in the comments where you're from, what you're excited about today. We got two different topics that I will explain a bit more later. So let's wait a few more minutes for other people to join as well. Hey, Vincent. Hey, Joyoung. How's everyone doing? From Tokyo, welcome. Hey, Jeff, how's it going? Cool. We got a bunch of people joining in. Welcome. I'm excited to do this. Hope you are as excited as I am. Paris, nice. Netherlands, that's awesome. I'm also based in the Netherlands currently. So it's about lunchtime for me. All right. I think we can just get started. Again, welcome everyone at our ProtoPie 5.5 launch event, bridging the gap between ProtoPie and your favorite design tools. So we've got two topics today, and let me just briefly explain what we're going to cover today. So the first one is topic one. We'll discuss on how we pick features to make a better ProtoPie for all of you. And the second one will be more about ProtoPie 5.5. We've got some awesome features that you will see in action using a use case example that is probably very interesting to a lot of you, is making an actual working video player prototype. After that, we'll briefly cover what's next. So what's to come after ProtoPie 5.5, and we will also have a Q&A session at the very end. One note is after each topic, we will have a very, very brief Q&A, but at the very end, we'll have a longer Q&A session. So if you do have any questions, make sure to use the separate Q&A window that we have, and we'll try to answer your question either directly or live during the Q&A session. But for anything else, of course, feel free to use the chat window. All right, so let's get started with the first topic that we have today. So how do we pick new features to make a better ProtoPie? First, we have Patricia, our customer success manager, and we have David T, our product manager, who will give you a glimpse of how we do this. Patricia, the floor is yours.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I am Patricia from Italy, customer success manager, ProtoPie. As Frederick anticipated, I'm going to give you a peek into how my team collects and internally shares user feedback to help product managers choose features you users really need and are asking for. The first thing is identifying which feedback to collect and share with the product team. As a customer manager, I'm all ears. I listen to how you feel, to what you need from ProtoPie every day across all communication channels. So starting from our support tickets, which are the messages we receive when you contact us through our support page, all the way to our social media channels, ProtoPioneers community on Slack, and last but not least, Kenny. Many of you are probably familiar with Kenny already. Next slide. Yeah, it's our space dedicated to feature requests, where you can submit any feature request you have directly to us or upvote existing feature requests submitted by other users to increase their chances to be implemented in our future releases. Kenny, you can also leave comments or tag other members or people from the ProtoPie team if you, for instance, have a question. So Kenny is very straightforward and simple to use. It's really very important because how you use Kenny helps us understand which features are trending the most and how you users want ProtoPie to evolve. So I really encourage everyone here to use Kenny and share your wishes this way. So we talked about which channels we collect user feedback from. The next step is synthesizing and storing user feedback. So we store user feedback in a dedicated section in our internal Notion. I'd like to make clear it's not just about copy-pasting feedback from our communication channels. It's more about highlighting the context and the actual problems you users are facing, because there are many solutions to problems. And often you do a great job suggesting solutions to us, but there might be a simpler or more efficient ways to solve a specific need. So my team's job is really to focus on understanding the why behind each request or feedback you share with us, so that product management can answer your needs in the best and most efficient way. The last step is sharing and discussing user insights collected with product management. So every 2 weeks, we have a meeting with our product managers and engineers, during which we present each single piece of feedback we collect and discuss details together. My team's job ends at this stage. Now I'll leave it to my teammate David to tell you how product management prioritizes and picks features for each new release. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. Okay, so my name is David. I'm currently the product manager of cloud at ProtoPie. It's great to meet everyone. So there are 3 things I would like to discuss in this section. Number 1 is data. Number 2 is how we prioritize the feature requests. And number 3, with all that data in, how do we make sure the solution is the best of our ability as possible, and make sure that how we align it with your workflow and the whole ProtoPie ecosystem. So number 1 is how we embrace the data. So since the last launch event, we as a company decided to adopt Amplitude as our core product analytics. So we don't just look at your Canny request or the request that comes in through Patricia and Fredo. We also now look at your engagements within our ecosystem, within the product. So how often do you use that feature, or do you not really like that feature? What's the difference between your actions and the requests that come up on Canny? And once we get that data, we move on to the next step. And for our prioritization system, I'm sure you might be familiar. We use the weighted shortest job first method, where there are a couple of categories here. So number 1 is the user value or business value. Number 2 is time criticality. 3, opportunity. And lastly, the job cost. So I'm sure, so this photo that I'm sharing with you is the actual system that we use within the product team. So the user value or business impact might be, for example, how many times you engage with that feature. And what's the business impact? How would that relate to the actual business model that we have? And the time criticality means how fast and urgent is this request? And opportunity could mean once we develop this feature and release it, when will our users, you will actually experience the impact of that feature? And so we combine the user value, time criticality, opportunity, and then we divide it with the job cost. So the resources that we actually have, usually the engineering resources. And then we get the final results, which is called the WSJF coefficient. So this system automatically ranks your feature request that combines both your request and our internal situation as a company. So we get the most balanced results as possible. Then we move on to the next step. So with all that data and prioritization in mind, how do we make sure the solution is to the best of our capabilities? So I'm sure Konak will explain more in the next section, but in 5.5, you have we have the formula support for playback response. This feature was developed a while ago, but we used to, again, before the last launch event, we used to develop features like a feature factory. We saw your candidate requests, and we would just try to knock them off like a checklist. And we learned a lot of lessons from that, and we got a lot of feedback from you about that type of culture. So now what we do is, for this playback response, for example, we looked at not only your the product data, your surveys, your interviews that we had many times, as some of you might remember. And we looked at all the features that we have within the product. And we saw how in the seek category of this feature, now we divide it into time and formula, just like other features like the text response. And we made sure the UI is consistent with the opacity feature as well, so that it is aligned with your workflow to improve your productivity and prevent any second guesses. So that's one of the examples of using the new product data and more insightful and deeper knowledge that we got from your surveys. And yeah, I think that's one of the best examples that we can illustrate from 5.5. And now I would like to transition to the next section, to Fredo. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia and David. Before we start off with the Q&A, I have this little poll that I'm gonna turn on real quick for everyone to fill in. So there you go. I think everyone has this little pop-up window with a little poll about your favorite channel to use when making feature requests. Other than that, we have a little bit of time to answer one or two questions if there are any. I did see one question right here in the chat window. If you have any questions, please make sure to use the actual Q&A window. But the first question is, what lessons did you learn from just adding requested features? Maybe David, you could take this one. Sure.
We get this question a lot, guys, to be honest. So in the past, when we were basically developing the features just based on candidate requests, sometimes, not often, we developed features that ended up not being utilized at all. When I say at all, I mean the usage frequency was extremely low compared to the request on Canny. So this kind of gave us, what the negative consequence of that would be, we had to solve some urgent requests, but these urgent requests fixes had to be delayed because of those certain features. But the positive from that is that we were able to tweak the system so that we look deeper into the data.
Awesome. And there are two more questions, and I think they're kind of similar, but right. Is basically how do you measure the product usage?
Oh, that's a great question. To be honest, that could be a topic for another day. But just to give a quick, but I like the way you think. But just to give you a quick, what we do now is by using Amplitude, we obviously track two things, right? The actual events, not only the events of you just engaging with that feature, but how many of you actually use that feature to convert into the results that you intended. So I mean, a lot of users just try out the feature. Some of them just stop in the middle instead of actually finishing what the feature intended. So we look at the total engagement with that feature, as well as the actual results of that feature. I'm not sure if I answered that question correctly, but yes, that's definitely how we really drive our decisions based on the data now. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And let's do one more question before we continue. Got a question from Jeff. When evaluating features, are there basic principles for ProtoPie that you follow that determine if the feature would even be considered in the first place? For example, live data is a popular request, but Jeff suspects that this might be a little too close to actual programming to be included in ProtoPie.
That's a really good question. I can see that we all work in the same industry here. So Jeff, thank you for a great question. So yes, we do have a couple of principles. I know that, for example, dynamic data, anything related to data is highly requested, especially that involves code as well. But with our current principle in mind, we really want to remove the usage of code as much as possible for you, because we really want to move towards that no code trend that's rising right now in the macro market perspective. And obviously, instead of focusing on the term no code, as long as we can improve your productivity and save you time, that's basically the direction that we always choose to go to. So every time we get a request, that's like one of the first principles that we think about. Are we actually improving your workflow? Are we saving you time? And I know there are a lot of features that should be improved in that logic. And so we're really tackling one by one right now. But great question, Jeff.
Awesome. All right. Let me just also end the poll, and then I can actually briefly share the results with all of you. Mm-hmm. There you go. So it seems that most of you use the support form to share your feature requests with us. For the ones who are not familiar with Canny, that is the one place where we collect all of your feature requests and where you can also see what others have requested, what others have been voting for, specific comments for feature requests. So if you haven't used Canny yet, make sure to do it from today onward. All right, let's move on to the next topic. So we now have topic 2, and Konok Lee, our customer learning designer, will show you how to make an actual video player prototype with the new ProtoPie 5.5 features. Konok, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me, Fredo. So in the next topic, we're going to see what's new in 5.5. And I think the most exciting part is that we are gonna make a video player prototype using all these new features. So without further ado, let's first take a look at what's new in 5.5. So the first feature I want to introduce here is now we support shortcut for color pickers, both on Mac and Windows. And also, we support you to fill an image into a container or any shape you want. And then we have shortcut for alignment, which is quite handy. And now for now, we also support you to use a formula just inside a variable. So you don't have to go through the tedious detecting and assigning process any longer. And we support you to use formula in playback to make a working scrubber. And we have a bunch more formulas like initial and parent, and will be introduced later on in our demo. So yeah, that's all for the new features. And have you guys ever used any of these features before the launch event? Please let us know in the poll window. Yeah, so now we jump to the next step is now we are actually build this demo all together in ProtoPie. So I think Fredo will help me to send the link in the chat window, I guess. So let's just wait for 1 or 2 seconds. Yeah, thank you, Fredo. Let's just wait for 1 or 2 minutes for everyone to get ready for the assets. I'm really excited for this part. So if you want to build this demo together with me, make sure you download the assets. Also, please let me know when you manage to download and open the assets in your studio in the chat window. Yes. Okay, so how about we just go through what we are going to make today while everybody is downloading the assets. So we have 5 parts for this demo today. So the first one is we're going to make this scroll view. So you can see the video highlighted will pause or start based on the scroll value. And second one, we will make this progress bar, which is automatically playing along with the video. And then we will make some interaction based on this progress bar. So firstly, if I tap on anywhere of this progress bar, so the video will just jump and start from that second. And also, we can drag this little dot left and right to control the video time. So lastly, we'll enable a comment panel by tapping on the comment icon. So you will see some elements are moving and also the video is scaled down to the half size. So in the last demo, instead of using the real values, we will try to implement the new formulas, parent and initial. So you will get a brief on this understanding how these formulas work in our demo. So yeah. So before we jump to the studio, maybe Fredo can share the results with us. Wow, so most of you, I guess, haven't tried these features yet. So let's do this today. Let's try this out all together. I'm really excited to show all the new stuff in 5.5. Yeah, are you guys ready? Please let me know. Yes. Yeah, so, okay, I see you are. Yes, most of you are ready, I guess. So just one more second, we will start making this and in the studio. So at the same time, I will open the studio. And if you manage to download and open the assets, you will see the same interface like me here. So let's get started for the first part. So the first part, we've already prepared the interactions here. So the first demo will work like this. So if I scroll down, you can see the video is stopped. So if I scroll down a little bit more, then the video will start playing. And again, if I scroll back, then the video will stop again. So in this case, so how did we do this in ProtoPie? So first of all, we use a range. So we use a range to get the scroll value of this container. And based on the scroll range, we will have playback responses for this video, right? So one is to play the video and second one is to pause the video. So how do we get the scroll value of the scroll container? Is actually, we use a detect. First, we detect the scroll value of this scroll container. Then we use a formula here. So we assign this formula to our variable, which is variable 1. So the formula we use here is just to get the container 1, which is a scroll container, is scroll offset. So now we can have the variable just display on our preview window. So every time I scroll, you can always see the variable is changing in real time. So this is how we did this before 5.5. So in 5.5, you actually don't need to use detect and assign anymore, because detect assign, it doesn't have anything to do with our interactions over here. So the usage of this variable is just to get the scroll value. It's just for debugging. So we can just disable this, and in 5.5, we can actually use a variable, then we use formula inside this variable. So if you want to enable this feature, make sure when you create a variable, choose the second one, choose the variable for this thing, then you will see the option right here. So for now, we can use a same formula like this. So we say the scroll containers, the scroll offset. Then again, we can display, clicking on this little box, you can display this variable just on your preview window. And I will just disable the first one till, yeah. So now, as you can see, it works the same way. However, you don't have to add anything in your panel to make your interactions in a more in a clear way. So yeah, so that's it for the first part. Please let me know if you have any questions till now. You can ask your questions in a Q&A window. Okay. Yeah, I think so far so good. So let's jump to the video player. Yes, this is an amazing feature. Yes. Let's jump to the second part. So now we are going to build this video player. I think this is the most exciting part. And I also think this may be the biggest reason why you guys are being here today. So for the video player, so the first thing we want to make is, so even though I don't interact with the progress bar, the progress bar should automatically play along with video. So to do this, the first thing we need to do is we want to link the video's time to the position, X position of this little dot, and also the length of this active part. So by doing this, we can just add a chain trigger. So we select on the time of this video. So now we have already set the time of video. So now we want to link the X position. So add a move response to the little dot. And also we will control the length of this active part. So we can also just add a scale for the active part. So now let's fill in the values over here. So the first thing is we want to know the time of this video. So to do this very easily is just to click on this video and you will check the time just over here. So let's say it's around 16 seconds. So the time should be from 0 second to 16 seconds. And then we will move this little dot. So we will check when the video is at 0 second, the X position of little dot, we could just check it over here. It will be 0. So we can just type in 0 in the X. And when we play the full video, the whole video, so the little dot will just move to here, somewhere here. So at the same time, we check the X value and we just type in here. So let's take a look in the preview window. So now you can see the little dot is also moving along with this video. So next part, let's deal with this, this small rectangle. So we've added scale response here. And also we know the time is from 0 to 16 seconds. So obviously at its 0 second, the length is going to be 0. So when we play the whole video, the length of this active part should be the same as the background, the total time. So we can also go click on this total and check, check the length or width of this object. And we can copy and paste the length over here. So now we can see in the preview window, this part is working smoothly. So before I start interacting with this progress bar, it can automatically play along with the video time. Let me know if you have any questions so far. Yes, I got a question. It would be awesome to use formula inside chain instead of typing specific values. Do you plan to use formula inside? Do you plan to use formula inside chain to make it more dynamically? For example, you change a video, I need to change the values manually. Yeah. So for this part, so for now, I don't think we can use a formula inside the chain right now. But actually, I do think if this feature is supported, then it will be super amazing to boost your productivity. Okay, so let's move on to the next part. So the next part is going to be, if I tap on anywhere of this progress bar, So the dot will just move over there, move to the touch position, and also we will control the video's time. So to do this, first of all, we will tap on this progress bar. So that's very easy. We can just add a tap trigger. So at the same time, when I tap on the progress bar, let's move the little dot. And also, when the little dot moves, also the video time is going to change. So we can also add a response, playback response to the video. So now here, this part is a little bit tricky because every time I tap on anywhere of this progress bar, actually, we don't know where I'm gonna tap. Every time the positioning will be different. So to do this, since it's a dynamic value, so we have a sense that this is gonna be, we are going to use a formula in the, in the X position. So the one formula we can think of is touch X. So touch X will return the X position of the touching point relative to the scene. So however, if we go check our assets, you can see the dot is actually inside this progress bar. So the dot's position is going to be relative to its parent layer, which is a progress bar. So in that case, we cannot use touch X directly because touch X always give you a relative value to the scene. So to do this, I want to introduce this formula, which is 2-layer. So we will use 2-layer in this case. So 2-layer, what does it mean? So 2-layer, if you want to use 2-layer, you first has to know the position relative to the scene, and also you want to know the parent layer. So in this case, if I say 2-layer and okay, let's check this example. So if I want to say 2-layer container 1, 100 and 200. So 100 and 200 is going to be the relative position to the scene. Then if I want to change the relative position to the scene to relative to container 1, then I can use this format. So in this case, instead of 100, 200, we get a relative position to the container 1. And similarly, we have 2-layer Y. It works the same way, but it returns the Y value. So if we scroll down a little bit, we can see another group of formulas like 2-screen X and 2-screen Y. So these two formulas, they work the other way around. So use 2-screen, you first have to know the relative position relative to a layer, a container or a component. So in this case, the example here, if you say 2-screen container 1, 10, 20, so the 10, 20 going to be the relative position to the container 1. Then if you want to know the relative position to the screen, then you use 2-screen. And similarly for screen 2-screen Y, then it gives you just the Y position. So in our case, we know the relative position, X position, is going to be touch X. However, I want to get the relative position just to the progress bar, this parent layer. So in this case, we will use the formula 2-layer. So since we are getting the X value, so we use 2-layer X. So the target is going to be the progress bar, this container. So we just type in progress bar here. And then we're going to type in is a relative value to the screen. So we know for X is going to be touch X. And for Y, actually in this case, it's not necessary to know the Y position since 2-layer X always just give you the X value. So we can just leave it 0. It doesn't matter what value you have for Y actually. Yes, that's it. And also at the same time, we will move this, this little dot just horizontally. So we can just go check the Y position. Since it's not changing, we can just copy paste the Y value over here. So that should work. So as you can see, if I tap on anywhere of this video, you can see the little dot is moving over there. So just one more step. We want to make the duration to 0. So next step, we are going to deal with a playback. So as I know, I will tap on anywhere. So this time the video will just start playing from there. So for example, let's say if this is my touch point and the active part will just fill in, I will just drag, make this a little bit longer. So this is how the active part will look like. So in this case, we can check the value. So we know the X position of this dot is 384, and we will realize the width of this active part has the same value. So instead of using the width of this active part, we can use the dot's X position for better practice. And if we want to get the real time, the current time of the video, so to do this, it's very easy. We can just use the length of this active part divided by the whole length. The whole length is going to be 618, and then times the total seconds, the total length of the video, which is 16 seconds. So now we can get the current time of the video. So now in the playback, you will go to the SIG category. Now we are going to use a new feature in 5.5. So let's change it from time to formula. So now we can type in a formula instead of a time. So as we mentioned before, we can use dot X position instead of the length of the active part. So we will just do this real quick. And then divided by the whole length of the progress bar, which is 618, and then times the total seconds, which is 16. So now we get the progress bar working. Okay, so that's the second part of the scrubber. Let me know if you have any questions. Yeah, I think so far so good. So let's move on to the next part. So nextly, what we will do is I want to drag this little dot left and right, and at the same time, we will control the video's time. So first of all, since we're dragging the dot, we can just add a drag to the dot and also make it move. So we want to make it move horizontally. We change the direction here. So now we can make it move horizontally. So we only want the little dot to be moved just inside this progress bar. So to do this, we want to have a limit, custom limit for the movement. So as we checked before, if the video is at its 0 second, the X position of the dot is going to be 0. And then if we play the whole video, then the X position is going to be 618. So let's check again. So this time, I think this little dot is only allowed to move just inside this progress bar. Okay. So now becomes a tricky part is when I drag this little dot, I want to make it to control the video's time. So the first option I can think of is maybe let's add a chain to the X position of the dot. Then maybe we can add a playback. But however, we cannot even use a playback in a chain trigger. So we need to think of another method. The same logic, we still want to use that dot's X position to control the video. So this time we can use detect. So detect works similarly. We can add a playback for our video inside the detect. So now we are using the dot's X position to control, the play time of this video. And same here, we just use formula, and the formula we use is actually the same one as we used previously. So we can just copy and paste it over here. Okay. So now let's check again. Yeah, I think the drag is working. You can drag left and right to control the video. However, we realize that, the video is not playing very smoothly. Why is this happening is actually, let's go back and take a look at the triggers we have right now. So first of all, we have a chain trigger. So in the chain, we're telling ProtoPie that the video's time can control the X position of this little dot. However, at the same time, we have a detect trigger. So in the detect trigger, we're telling ProtoPie that the X position of this little dot can also control the video's time. So we realize that these two triggers are conflicted with each other. So ProtoPie doesn't know which one should they listen to. Should they listen to the video's time, or should they listen to, the X position of the little dots? So to solve this problem, for the detect trigger and for the playback response inside detect trigger, so we want to give it a condition. So let's say under a specific condition, this playback response can be triggered. So what condition we can use over here? So let's go and check. So the condition is actually, we can think of when I touch down on this little and start dragging it. So this behavior could be our condition. So if I release, then the video time should still control the X position, just only when I drag this. So this time the X dot of the X position of the little dot can control the video time. So the behavior for the condition should be the drag. However, actually, if we go and take a look at the, the default options here for conditions, actually, we cannot find such a condition that you can, use dots states to control, to use as a condition. So to do that, we want to store the state of the little dot to see if it's touched down or touched up. We want to store these states into a variable. So let's create a variable. So in this case, if we store the information into this variable, then we can just use a variable in the condition. So let's make this variable first. So let's say if I touch down on this dot, we will give a variable a value. So let's say if it's touched down, then the variable becomes 1. If I touch up on this little dot, then we can change the value to 0. So actually, it doesn't matter what number you use here, just to use a different number. So you can differentiate from these two states. So we can click on this little bug icon to make it display on our preview screen. And I will move it over here. So as now you can see in the preview window, if I touch down on this dot, then the variable becomes 1. If I touch up, the variable becomes 0. So now we know we use variable to differentiate the states, and then we can just use this variable as our condition. So let's say if the variable 1, it means the dot is touched down, then only under these cases, under this condition, then we are going to use the dot's X position to control the playback time. So now you can see the video is playing smoothly, and also the drag behavior is working really well. Yes, I think that's everything for the video player part. So nextly, we will move more. We will make more interactions based on this comment icon. So before we're doing that, let me know if you have any questions. Are there plans to create true or false variable type instead of? So maybe Fredo or David can help me on that question. Jeff is asking if there is any plan to create true or false variable type instead of using 1 or 0. Yes. So let's move on to the next part. So in the last part of this demo, we are going to make is I want to enable our comment panel is when I tap on this icon, the comment panel will popping up and the elements, the icons and the progress bar will move up a little bit. And also the video will be scaled to half height of the screen size. So first of all, let's add a tap trigger to this icon. Okay, so at the time, so first thing we want to do is we want to scale this video. So here, the first way is you can actually type in a real number for each field. However, if we want to, if we want to change the video size, like the new size after it's scaling down, if we want to change a demo, so every time we need to change the values over here manually. So this time, let's try to use a formula inside these fields. So first of all, let's take a look at how we arrange our assets. So as now you can see, actually, we have the progress bar over here, the profile, these icons, and also this back icon, and also the video inside this container, video contents container. So you realize that the video contents container's size is a little bit strange. Actually, if you group them all together, so the container may look like this. So we resize this container to the half screen size. So we want to scale the video just to this height, just the same height as this container. So if you want to resize this container, so first to make sure the elements inside this container, the constraints are set correctly. So there are two ways of using formulas in the scale. The first way, so let's just use the height to test it out. So the first way, as we know, we want to scale this video to the same height as this video contents container. So the first way to do this is to use video contents, its height. Okay. So now I think it should work. So yeah, so now the video, when it's scaled down, it has the same height as our parent, the video contents container itself. So let's say if we want to change the name of this container, then every time I change the name, then you will realize the formula gives us an error message here. So here I want to introduce a new feature in 5.5 is a parent formula. So let's take a look. So the parent formula, first of all, this formula will return a layer. So let's say if I have a rectangle A inside another container B. So container B is going to be the parent layer of the rectangle A. So if I use formula parent rectangle A, then it will return container B. So parent is used to get the parent layer or container of your target object. So since this formula returns you a layer, so it has a property like a layer. So you can always use a dot and plus a property to get the property value or text. So that's how parent works. So in our case, we want to scale to the video contents this container's height. So we can replace this part using parent. So how we're going to replace this part is we can use parent, and then we want to get the parent layer of this video that's going to be this container. So we will say video. So we want to get the video. This object is parent. Then we also use height here. So let's try in ProView window. So it works same way, but what's the difference? We use container.height and we use parent video.height. What's the difference here is like, let's say if I want to change the name again, I change it to contents, then there won't be any error message in the formula field. So that's basic the difference. So by using a formula, no matter which formula you use here, so when you want to scale the video, then you don't have to change anything. You just need to scale the container. They always work. So it reduces the work later on. So you don't have to change anything here manually anymore. So let's just move it back to the half height of this screen. So now we've already made the new height of the video. So let's do the width part. So before we can just see the video is squeezed and the width of this video isn't changing. So we want to change the video's width as well. So to do this, in other words, we want to fix the ratio of the video, the width and height ratio of this video. So let's go back to the keynote for a second. So originally we can see the video's height is going to be just as the height of the screen, and the width is going to be the width of the screen. So we already know the new height is going to be parent video.height. So we already know this part. So we want to get the new width. So since the ratio is going to be fixed, so we can calculate the ratio by doing this, use video width divided by video's height. Then it's going to be the new width divided by new height. And then we already know the new height is going to be the parent video.height. So we can do a little bit of math here. We just move this part to the left-hand side of this equation. So we get the new width is going to be video's width divided by video's height, then times parent video.height. So let's apply this in our demo. So we were just, use video's width and divide it by video's height. And then times the new height of this video. We've already used this before. So we use parent again, video and its height. So let's check again. So now you can see the video has a fixed ratio, and the width of this video is also changing at the same time. So next step is, before we go into next step, let's check if there is any questions. Okay, could you repeat the reason why you typed the formula that way? Okay, sure. So I believe you are asking is this part, right? So let's say if we tap on this progress bar, so the dot will move right here to the touch position. And at the same time, so let's say the touch position is like here, and you also get the active part. We can just check in the design. So let's say we touch here, and the active part will just look like this. So now is where the video should jump to. This is going to be the current time. So we can get a percentage, like how much percent the video has already played. So to get this percentage, we can use the active part, its length, divided by the total length of the video. So in this case, actually, it's going to be the progress is its width divided by the total. This rectangle is width. However, if we go and check the dot's x position, you can know the x position, which is 384, and also the active part, its width, is also going to be the same value. So instead of using the length of, the length of this active part, we can use dot its x position. Then you divide it by 618. 618 is going to be the length of this background, the length of this progress bar. And then we got a percentage here. And then last step is to time the total seconds of this video. The total second of this video, we checked already, which is around 16 seconds. So I just use 16 over here, but you can make it more accurately. So that's how we come up with this formula. So in this case, because when we tap on this progress bar, the x position of dot is changing because we have removed response. However, we don't have any responses based on the progress, the active part. So since the active part is not changing, we can only use the x position of little dot to replace the width of this active part. Why are you dividing by the width? Yes, I hope I answered this question. I think these two are similar question. Yes. So let's move forward. We've already scaled this video. So the next step is we will also move, these icons and also the progress bar. So to move this, first of all, we will add a move response for both of these elements. So let's finish the easy step first. So in this case, I want to make sure that the distance to the bottom side of the video is fixed. So let's go and check. You can, press Option on your keyboard to get the values. So the distance is going to be 155, and also we need to plus the height of these elements itself. So as we know, the distance is going to be fixed. So when it's moved, so the distance is also going to be fixed. And in this case, we can just use the new height of this video minus the distance. Okay, so we were, since we are using parent, so we use parent again, and we get the new height of this video. Okay, and then we minus 158 and 355. So now you can see the elements is also moving, and similar for the progress bar. So all we need to do is to get the distance from the bottom side of the video. So it's going to be 44 plus its own height, 54. So similarly, we can use parent and video. And height. And then again, we minus 44 and 54. So the progress bar is also moved to its right position. So last step is to deal with this comment panel, which is the easiest one. We can just move to the new video's height, use the same value over here. Yes. So yes, that's how we enable this comment panel. So one last step is we want to close this comment panel as well by clicking on this little X button over here. So this step is much more easier. So basically we can reset everything. We can reset the comment panel, we can reset these icons. So reset can bring these elements to its initial states and we reset the progress bar. However, so one thing we need to pay attention is we cannot reset the video. So I will show you what happens if we reset this video. So if I reset the video, you might notice the video starts from a 0 second. So every time I reset this video, the video always refreshed. So that's not what we want. The only thing we want to do is we just want to reset the size of the video. So first of all, you can use scale and then you type in the value here. So here I want to introduce another formula is initial. This is also a new feature in 5.5. So initial, where initial one of the properties of your target object. However, initial, it works different from parent. Initial will return a text or number. So if you want to also input a property here, you have to make sure the property is put in the parentheses instead of like add a dot and use property right after the formula. So they work differently. So let's look at the example here. The first of all, initial rectangle 1 x. So this means you initial rectangle 1 is x position, and similarly the second one initial over 1 opacity. Then you mean you just initial the opacity of the over 1. So let's apply this in our demo. So we want to initial both the width and the height. So how we do this? We first use this formula initial. A second, we select on our target. We want to initial this video. So we use a quotation mark and then we input the property inside the quotation marks. That's how we use initial. So similarly for the height, we use initial, then video 1. And then, sorry, I also made this mistake. So we have to put the property inside these quotation marks. So this time it's going to be height. So let's check again. Oh, what I did wrong here. Height. Okay. Just try it again here. So we say initial and the target is going to be the video. And we put the height property. Oh, thanks for letting me know. Sorry, I choose the wrong object here. How stupid am I? Yeah, thanks for letting me know, Jeff. I think this time should work. Okay. Yes, we made it. I was nervous. Yes. So now we initial videos, the videos width and videos height, and this time it works. Yes, so that's everything for the teaching part. I see there is one question coming in. Jeff is asking. Is there a property of video that gives us the total length I can use in my formula instead of using 16? So you mean, yeah, this part. Let's say, I'm not quite sure, maybe let's try. If I get the time of the video. I don't think so. Maybe Fredo, do you know if there is a property we can get the, the video's time instead of typing the real numbers?
Yeah, there is actually no property that gives you the total length of a video. The only video related property that we have is current time, where you can actually
Yes.
get the current time of the video, but not the entire length. Indeed, this would be a good feature request, however.
Yes, actually. I also see Richard is asking, can the video controls be visually customized? Yes, of course. You can download our assets and you can play around with the assets, and you can design it by yourself. Yes. So if you want to you want to change the looking of this video, the assets. So because we import these assets from other design tools. So if you want to customize, make sure to make these assets editable, then you will be able to change anything in this, the PI file. Yes, no more questions. So still we have a Q&A part after, after this session. So I will just wait a little bit to see if we have more questions. Fredo, do you see any questions in the chat window, maybe?
Well, it seems like for now you have answered the questions that were already there.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, maybe let's move on.
Yeah. Okay.
As we know, we still have a final Q&A at the end. So if you still have any questions later, we can do those then. Okay, there's one. So maybe let's do that one. From
Is there a
Vincent.
way to reset a specific layer property rather than everything? Yes, we talked about it. Use initial. Initial is used to just reset one of the properties that you want to reset. So in our case, let's say, so this part in our example. So if I, let's say, disable scale, and you use reset for the video, then this time it resets everything. So pay attention to the video time. So if I close, you can see the video always go back to 0 seconds and start playing because we also reset the video's playtime. However, instead of using reset, we can just use initial to just reset the width and the height of this video. So you can choose one of this property. Also, if you don't want to reset the height, you just want to reset the width, is also feasible, I guess. Yes, you can just play around with this initial formula. It gives us a lot of possibility to making demos. Yes, I guess that's everything. Yes, we also have an article to talk about the demos in a more detailed way. So if you want to go through everything again, one is we really don't have the recordings for this launch event. Second one, you can also take a look at the 5.5 tutorial article on our blog. So I still have a little bit to cover. So I want to introduce the new features in the cloud. So first of all, we've redesigned the interface of the cloud. Now it becomes more intuitive and visualized. So first of all, you can realize all CDAs are highlighted for better usability. And secondly, especially when you are sharing a PI file to other people, you will have this window which gives you a more visualized interface. So you can get a brief idea what it should look like when other people opens your link. Also, same for cloud to raise the overall satisfaction for the sharing experience. So for people who are not the owner of the PI files, when they open the link, there will be no longer the error messages like, missing font. And also on the mobile web browser, you will no longer see the opening player button. So these two experiences gives people more confidence to test your demos out without worrying about if there is anything wrong in the demo, they can just play around with your demo right away. So, nextly, we will welcome Luke, who is our product manager, to introduce what's coming out next in ProtoPie. So we do have a bunch of exciting new features coming out in the near future. So at the same time, I think Fredo will also enable a pull window. So please feel free to tell us which of these new features you're most excited about, and your feedback really means a lot to us. So that's it for my part, and let's welcome Luke. I will stop sharing. Yes.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. My name is Luke. I'm a product manager here at ProtoPie. It's very nice meeting you all and excited to have you all here. Our goal at ProtoPie is to allow users like you to make realistic and expressive interactions in an easy manner. And we've been working hard for the past couple weeks and months to bring you new features that will enable you to do that. And I'm just going to provide a sneak peek of what might be coming next to ProtoPie Studio. First, we've been working on a multi-scene feature to better help users prototype whole experiences. So whether the goal is to create interactive interaction spanning multiple scenes, or just simple click-throughs with multiple components, our goal has been to make this experience easier for users like you. And we've been working to bring you a dashboard and tab UI experience. So with the dashboard, our goal is to give you ready access to your working pies, examples and tutorials that you might find useful. And also with the tab UI, our goal is to allow for faster access to different pies, different workflows to make them more efficient and easier for you. And last but not least, we're introducing new themes, now including the all new light theme. And at the same time, we are revamping the design language to make each element more legible and easier on your eyes. So that's just a subset of what we have been working on. And we'll be introducing them in the following months, following weeks. So stay tuned. Thank you. Now off to David, who will be continuing with the research studies.
Okay, so thank you, Luke. As Luke just gave you guys a sneak peek, we are developing and planning a lot of amazing features that we know you will like. So it would be great to have some of you participate in our unmoderated research studies. So for the next slide, let me give you more details about what that means. So we're looking for volunteers, guys, and the estimated duration would be about 30 minutes per person. And obviously the equipment you need, yes, a computer will be fine. $50 Amazon gift card. And for ProtoPie skill-wise, all levels are fine and welcomed. You don't need to be an advanced user to participate. But we'll definitely send you a link once you participate within the chat window and email after the event if you're willing to. And it'll be great to see as many participants as possible so that we can reflect your opinions, not just through Kenny, but through in-depth meeting like this. So yeah, so please feel free to participate. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for speaking today. So we're now at the final Q&A. So if you have any questions about anything that was covered today or ProtoPie in general that you would like to ask to any one of us, this would be the right time to do that. or I already saw some questions in the chat window about the keynote. I'm not so sure if we can share the keynote. However, the recording, it will be on YouTube very soon. We always do our best to make sure the recordings of our events are on our YouTube channel right after, so you don't have to wait long. And so yeah, it will be on YouTube, and once it's there, we'll also share it in our ProtoPioneers Slack community. All right. See, we have our first question from Vincent. How do you design and build your amazing 3D models? I guess you're referring to the ones on our website, right? Yeah, I can take this question. We have a few talented designers who have been exploring with 3D modeling. So some of the things that you see on our website, those were made in-house by one of our designers. Yeah. All right. Any other questions? All right. So we have a question from Jeff. Are there plans to make designing for TV interfaces easier? That's a good question. Perhaps David or Luke wants to take this question.
Yeah, I can take it. Thank you, Jeff, for the question. So we are looking into ways to make it easier for designing TV interfaces, and we've been there are some Kenny requests that we are reviewing right now as we speak, and we'll be able to give you an update on the TV interface part soon. So stay tuned, and hopefully we'll be able to make it easier for you. If there are other requests that are not on Kenny, please feel free to upload to Kenny and just tag me. I'll take a look at it right away then. Thank you.
Just one more thing to add. So as Luke said, we always look at your Kenny requests. At the same time, any comments that you leave during these user interviews that we often do, they do catch our attention a little bit quicker because it's usually in person or because the pace is much more faster and more engaged. So please do register for that user research. Little promo before ending this section. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you for taking that question. Let's see if there's any more other questions. Perhaps anything about the about how we pick new features, or maybe a question about the video player prototype that Konuk showed before. All right. If there are no questions, I think we can wrap it up. So I'd love to thank each one of you for joining today's launch event. There's more to come, so obviously stay tuned. And if you want to stay on up to date about the latest anything ProtoPie, make sure to join our communities. Currently, we have two. We have one on Slack, which we call the ProtoPioneers community, and we have a ProtoPie user group on Facebook. Feel free to join both of them or any of them. And again, don't forget to sign up for the user interviews that David T plugged earlier. And yeah, that's it for today. Once again, thank you for joining, and see you in the next one.